Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about 5 things that I don't like about living in Flagstaff after being here for 14 years. Thanks guys for coming back to the channel. My name is Eric Greenwald. I'm a realtor with Realty Executives of Flagstaff. And like I said, I've been a resident here in Flagstaff since 2007. Been here 14 years with my wife and I, and raised our 2 kids. Our 2 kids are now getting older and soon going to be moving out of the house. And so I think it's an awesome place to live, especially to raise a family. But you know, after being here for 14 years, there's a few things that I would like to see changed, or things that I just don't like overall, or grown old over the years. So first thing I'm going to start off with is in Flagstaff, it is extremely dry. Now, what I mean by that is if you've grown up in the Midwest or if you've grown up in the South, you have the humidity, and that's kind of a plus, right? We have basically no humidity here in Flagstaff, so you don't get that real kind of clammy, hot and sweaty weather, but the air and the atmosphere around here is just extremely dry. So you know, being at 7,000 feet elevation, that goes adds to it as well, right? So we are constantly drinking water. You are constantly trying to hydrate yourself, constantly putting on chapstick, always putting on lotion, and it doesn't matter how many times you do it, your skin just always feels dry. Your nails, your cuticles, it's always dry. And you know, with that, we don't get a lot of rain. You know, we might get some rain in the spring, you know, maybe late April, and then we might not get a day of rain from late April until our monsoons hit, usually around the 4th of July. And so, you know, it's dusty, it's windy, it's super dry, the forest gets dry, and so we have fire restrictions that go into place, so that could, you know, affect your camping. Sometimes you can't have a campfire, you can't, you know, do certain things out in the woods because it's just so dry, and the threat of having, you know, forest fires is really extreme. So that's one of the things that I wish was different in Flagstaff, is just that it just wasn't so dry all the time. The second thing that I wish I could change about Flagstaff is that it's expensive. And I don't just mean that on the real estate end. I mean, obviously things are you know, extremely expensive right now when it comes to home prices, and the cost of getting into a home in Flagstaff. It just keeps going up each year. But not just real estate. I mean, there are a lot of things in Flagstaff that are just more expensive. And you know, whether it comes to your groceries, food costs, the cost of gas, the cost of, you know, just living expenses like furniture or you know, clothing, everything altogether is a little bit more expensive in Flagstaff. And I think that's because, you know, we're an isolated town a little bit. We're a smaller town. We have a lot less you know, options when it comes to shopping or whatnot. You know, it's basically a supply and demand type thing. You know, there's only a certain amount of stores that you can go to, a certain amount of car dealerships, and so the competition is a little bit less, which means the prices are going to be a little bit high. So it's turning into a place where a lot of people want to live on the West Coast, and you know, with the supply and demand, that's just going to drive the prices up, and it's just, you know, a more expensive place to live, and that's just part of it. So I wish that would change. I wish it was a little less expensive to live here, but it is what it is, and it's always going to be that way, I believe, if not worse as time goes by. Another thing that I wish, you know, was different in Flagstaff is we have a large population of intoxicated transients around town. You'll see people, you know, standing on the side of the road begging for change or food or whatever. People will come up to you in a parking lot and knock on your window looking for change. You know, for the most part, they're not aggressive, but you know, they're intoxicated and they're smelly and dirty, and it's just, you know, can be a burdensome sometimes when you have that going around, especially if you're out with your kids or something like that. You know, a lot of this population comes from the reservation close to Flagstaff. They, you know, don't have the means of being able to purchase alcohol out there, or have the resources for them to be able to, panhandle and get money so they can come to Flagstaff and do it. So, it's not uncommon to see someone passed out on the sidewalk, passed out at a bus stop. And, it's just unfortunate. It's you just don't want to see that all the time. And I know the city's been trying to deal with it. The police, the medics, the firefighters, they're always dealing with this population. But, I don't know if there's any real fix anytime soon. But, it's just one of those things that you see a lot here. And you kind of wish you didn't have to see it or deal with it as much. But, it is what it is. And, you try to do your best to help out when you can, or just ignore it and move on. So, like I said, luckily they're not aggressive and really, cause harm. They're just, kind of bothersome to see around and to see that, people living that way. It's so unfortunate. Another thing I would like to change, if I could, about Flagstaff is there's just no water. And I mean in terms of like lakes, rivers, recreational water that you could, really use for boating, swimming, fishing. We do have Lake Mary, which is in Flagstaff, just a couple minutes away from downtown. But that's not the best of lakes, especially fishing lately. It's just not the best lake that you want to come and spend time at. But other than that, I mean, that's about it, right? There's no beautiful river flowing through town, which would be really cool. So if you want to, get around some water, you have to either drive to Williams. There's a few lakes out there that you can fish and spend time at, but that's a 30, 45 minute drive depending on where you're going. You can go to Clear Creek, do some cliff jumping and kayaking and swimming. That's either out in Winslow or Camp Birdie, so that's an hour drive. So there's just not a lot of water to be around, to go fishing and do things like that. For me, I grew up in Michigan, so I'm used to a lake everywhere you look and everywhere you go. And so I wish there was more opportunities out here, but that's obviously not something that's really gonna change. As an example, for Lake Mary, there's Upper Lake Mary, there's Lower Lake Mary. This year, right now, it's so dry that Lower Lake Mary has completely dried up. There's no water there. And usually that's a nice little lake where you can go and they stock trout and you can go fishing. But it's not here this year. And unless we get more snow this coming up winter, who knows how long it's gonna be until that returns. So, it's kind of weird, things like that, especially coming from the Midwest or the South where you're used to, water being everywhere. So more water, that would be nice. The last thing I have on my list is Flagstaff is isolated. So, there's not like a connecting city. Like I said, I grew up in Michigan and I lived up and down the East Coast, and that's more kind of what I'm used to in terms of growing up. And you can be in one town and drive, and you're in the next town and drive, and you're in the next city and next township, and it just kind of keeps going. And each city has, different options in restaurants and, activities to do and, whatever. So Flagstaff isn't like that. There's not a city really connected to Flagstaff. Our closest city is probably Williams, which, is 30 minutes away. And Williams is smaller than Flagstaff, so there's less options there. It's a cool town to hang out in, for a day or so. But, you're kind of limited on options when you go to Williams, and again, that's 30 minutes away. Besides that, you have Sedona, which is 45 minutes to an hour south. Sedona's cool. A lot of tourists come because it's such a beautiful town. But again, that's 45 minutes to an hour away. And then, your next major city is Phoenix, and that's a 2-hour drive. So you do have a lot of people that, go to Phoenix to go shopping, go to Phoenix to do activities and stay at different resorts and go to concerts and, whatever, because there's just a lot more options to do out there or down there in Phoenix. You know, besides that, your next big city is Vegas, and that's a 4-hour drive from Flagstaff, which is cool. It's always awesome to go to Vegas for a weekend. But you know, there's just, you know, it's the West, things are spread out, and you know, from Flagstaff, there's just not a lot around Flagstaff. So, you know, if you're looking for something to do that's not in town, you got to go somewhere else to find it. And if you're looking for something major, you know, major sporting event or something like that, you're going to have to go to Phoenix or Vegas, or you're going to have to drive the 6 to 8 hours to California, depending on where you want to go there to do something on that end. So, you know, it's a cool place to be, and some people like that it's isolated, right? And that you don't have a lot of people coming in and out all the time, but at the same time, if you're looking for other things to do, you know, you're limited on your options. So again, you know, this is just 5 things that I've kind of pointed out and that I've noticed over the past 14 years that I've been here. You know, some of these are super minor. Some of these are, I knew this when I came here. It's just maybe after 14 years, you know, wish I had it now. And you know, again, these are personal to me. So, you know, I'm not always going to say that Flagstaff is the absolute best place to live all the time, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? I've lived in 5 different states, and every place I've been to, there's things that I wish I could change or things that I didn't like. And so, you know, I want to point those out as well, because, you know, some people, all they want to do is point out the absolute best things, and which is great. I think the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. But, you know, there's things that people might not think about, or concerns people might have, and so I want to point those out as well. So if you have any questions about Flagstaff, if you have any interest in terms of real estate, whether you want to buy in Flagstaff, you want to come visit Flagstaff, if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. My emails and my phone number, it's all down there. If you want to invest in Flagstaff, or if you're thinking about investing in any type of real estate in Arizona, especially the Phoenix area, let me know. I have investments down there as well. So thanks again, guys, for checking me out, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you.